Good afternoon, everybody. I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive Corporation, joined alongside me here today, virtually and technically, and with a pile of notes 8 feet high and 2 miles wide, Mr. Pete Greco, our VP of Sales and Technology. He has been spending, all day, all night in the past few weeks figuring out how to defraud me of $30 when really he could have just come to my office and I would have given it to him straight away. That being said, that's what we're talking about today. It's CEO fraud, easy money for hackers, and how C-suite executives get spoofed. And there's plenty of phishing attacks out there, and kind of shockingly to us as we started digging into this topic, found a lot of real-world events where companies lost real money. And this is not of the 8 million Social Security numbers or these kind of things. I mean, this is send me an ACH for 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand, and happening pretty regularly. So pretty cool. Pete is going to talk about that, but first, we are going to meet Productive in 1 minute. If you've been to our events in the past, we get on the microphone, and I do that for 60 seconds or less, and then we get straight into it, which we will do today. We have 30 minutes or less, so we will giddy up. If you do have a question, please utilize that chat feature, and I will make sure your question is answered. And Pete promises to answer it accurately and completely is the promise he likes to give everybody. And so with that, let's meet Productive in 1 minute. Well, who is Productive? Well, I am so glad that you asked. Productive Corporation provides security and storage software and services for mid-sized companies. We offer dedicated expertise that helps you with technical question, pre-sales tech, licensing, and any other information that you need so you don't have to navigate that scary World Wide Web on your own. We also implement, test, and optimize the products that we sell. Everything from security assessments, penetration tests, we do configuration assistance, endpoint optimization, AV health check, UTM services. We also produce a ton of third-party content for the mid-market. The Knowledge Series is an example of this. We also do white papers and other details. You can find that at productivecorp.com/content or our YouTube channel. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you, whether that's implementation assessment, licensing and optimization services with our sales and technical team, or it's the information on the web. We do it for you guys. Help at productivecorp.com, 800-726-4099. And one of the ways that we've helped is by listening to you guys. You guys told us you wanted to hear about products, you wanted to hear about trends in the industry, and that is what we've been doing. Today, we're talking about CEO fraud and how the bad guys have been taking advantage of the good guys for gain. So the man with the plan presenting today is our VP of Sales and Technology. He's promised, now that I've paid him, to never spoof or phish me, but, once again, I punch. So with that, let's turn it over to Pete Greco. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Greco.
All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for hopping on with us today. We really appreciate it. I kind of want to kick it off by talking about, how we're going to cover this topic. We're going to cover it at a fairly high level. As Chuck and myself were really putting this together, up front, I don't think we realized about how deep we could get into some of these segments. And we really wanted to talk about kind of all of the different ways. So we're going to keep it at somewhat of a high level, but definitely would like to engage one-on-one with anybody out there that really is having a lot of issues, seeing a lot of attacks come in, nervous about this kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about happening to them. So without any more ado, though, let's get this bad boy started, right? So this is the latest fun thing to cause you some real headaches here, right? We're going to start it off with the Scowler company, right? An email looked like an ongoing correspondence between a CEO and a CFO that's now getting forwarded to a junior finance person is how this appears, right? And she agreed that when interviewed that the initial amount of money asked to be being transferred, 315 grand, was a lot, but she had wired previously over $1 million to China, even for goods that they legitimately purchase as a part of their business, right? And so part of the trick here is that one of our biggest attackers for folks in the United States, right, China or threats originating out of China, is also our biggest trade partner as well, right? So she has sent large sums of money here, so this is not necessarily completely out of the ordinary. And even though she felt the email wasn't quite right, she didn't think that imitation was what was at play. And she definitely wasn't going to question the CFO, her boss, right, and did not have the opportunity to interface with him on a face-to-face basis regularly. And so, she ends up sending this money and a little bit more overseas, right, which is now non-recoverable. Upon inspection of the actual emails, it was identified that the email address was actually just one letter off. So no spoofing here, just straight spiffing, just straight phishing. Let's see if I can get it out. Right, of their official domain, and a super easy miss, especially if you have a longer domain like ours, Productive Corporation. You flip that I and the V, and a very easy miss for someone who is not paying close attention, which when you're busy, frequently you're not, right? So the email itself originated from a domain associated with an organization called Vistaprint, which offers a free 1-month trial for companies looking to set up a website, right? So for the hacker, time was the main investment to basically go in and buy a domain super cheap to do. If anybody's ever registered their own, you can get them for sub $10 now, hardly any amount of money. And if you're going to do that, why not pay for it with a stolen credit card, right? So again, that investment very, very low, with a pretty significant payout and some risk, right? Because ultimately, if this stuff is caught quick enough, you might be able to track it back to the bank. But most folks don't identify that there's been an issue until the thieves are long gone, right? So here's one easy example. Another one from one of our partners, Malwarebytes, right? And these guys had a similar tale, only it was aimed at the CFO, right? And the emails were coming from the CEO. And what saved them was the systems of checks and balances, which now Scowler has implemented themselves, right? So no more large wire transfers without face-to-face or a telephone conversation confirming that we actually want to send this money out, right? Now, Malwarebytes already had that in place, and that's what really saved them from making this happen. And because Malwarebytes is in the security space, right, their end users have a slightly elevated game when it comes to detecting phony emails or taking the next step to drill in if something looks off or not quite standard. But you can see from the sample here, and this was posted on the Malwarebytes CEO's blog, right? So those guys were really sharing this with their end user community to help educate them that the email looks very legit, and a smaller amount of money might have gone through. The only thing that exposed the potential fraud was the verbal confirmation to send the money. Now, persistence is one of the keys to making this kind of scam work. A lot of people might ignore the first one, but persistent reminders or the threat of insubordination can get some skeptical folks to react more out of fear of what's going on, right? And so very easy for someone who has the access to feel like, oh, I don't want to be in trouble with the big man here, so I'm going to go ahead and get this done rather than go and confirm and find out. And so that's where some policies are going to start to change. Now, it's not all cash transfers. This was actually in the news last week, where a helpful employee emailed out thousands of W-2s to a phisher, and this is the exact kind of information needed for a great identity theft scam, right? And with a W-2, there's lots of possibilities to profit, and identity theft is the easiest. Just selling all those on the black market is going to get probably net them about $10 per. So you're not going to retire off of that kind of deal, but you can make some money there, right? But the real opportunity here is now we can start sorting through the high earners to figure out if we want to specifically target someone who potentially has a lot of assets, or we may make the assumption that somebody earning 200 or 300K per year or more may have access to more gold at the organization, and you can start targeting them with some phishing or backdoor dropper type activities, looking to make a major compromise at the organization, right? And all this stuff is really starting with kind of a phishing and spear phishing campaigns to get you going, right? So part of the issue here is that many of our security services and appliances are looking for the known, and that's easy, and much of what's getting originated falls by the wayside because of this. But if you have just a 0.01% success rate on 10 million emails, right, that you're sending out for a phishing attempt, you're looking at getting 100,000 clicks off of that, right? So now take a 0.01% percent off of that, right? That's going to give you 1,000 hits. So 100,000 people click on this thing. Another 1,000 take it to the next level. 0.01 of that, 10 people take it to the final level and actually hand over the information that you're looking for. Do that wire transfer or whatever, and you can see where the ability to send out more and more emails is going to net you some success and compromise. And we say this all the time on the web events, right? The hackers only need to get lucky occasionally. You need to be lucky 100% of the time, right? But they're looking for that one vulnerable employee, that one vulnerable machine, right? That one vulnerable area that really is allowing them to get what they're looking for. Now, part of our weaknesses come from good emails that are coming from poorly configured email servers, right? Which are going to be able to be set up as spam relays or allow legitimate addresses to send bad emails, this kind of stuff, which can cause some admins to start ignoring best practices, because now some of your customers who have been impacted, or your business partners or whoever, right, their emails are going into spam because they've had a previous incident or they haven't configured correctly. And so now some admins are lowering the requirements of their inbound email to make sure that those emails are coming through. That now makes them a target to become kind of an open mail relay, targeted by spammers, whatever, so that they can use your legit email server to send off these bad emails, or use your own email server to email your own employees, which is going to be the most impossible email to detect and to prevent, right? So in order to take advantage, phishers are using legit mail servers and services to spread an attack, and they're frequently using mass attacks to figure out how to hone in and target just a few with spear phishing. Then they're partially relying on outdated SPF records or incorrectly configured DMARC records, which if you're not familiar with that, it's a string that's got to be set up correctly and perfectly in order for it to do anything for you. And we've got a couple of links at the end of the presentation to help you get some resources where you can check your configurations and make sure you're tight using some of the tools that we also use and lots of the community are using. Right? If those things are not configured correctly, that's going to enable spoofing, which is even better than using an incorrectly made email address or an email address that's just one letter off, that's just similar, because they're going to be able to actually be using your email credentials, and your employees are going to fall for that every single time, right? So now I looked at a lot of figures on estimates for email servers and kind of what's the risk and this kind of stuff. And I saw a lot of information out there from a lot of different places. And what we always try and do is kind of really figure out who do we think has the most reliable information and what's the range, is everybody within a couple of percentage points. So the most optimistic site said that 60% of email servers are set up correctly. The low end of that said 38% of email servers set up correctly. Take this from an estimated 10 million Exchange servers only, right? Plenty of other email servers out there, but just of the Exchange servers, and that's a lot of targets to start leveraging. And then start thinking about, of all those Exchange servers, how many of those are still Exchange 2000? We hear it all the time. Exchange 2003, we hear it all the time, right? And now you have servers that are out of support where there's no new patches. Those things really are even more prone to being compromised and leveraged for some kind of an attack. But you don't have the capability to go and hack that old email server and exploit some CVEs there. Perfect. Buy an Amazon server, buy an Azure server, buy some local cloud account from your neighborhood vendor. Enable SMTP, right, and turn on port 25 and download a free PHP kit and start making your own fake emails. Right, and the cost is truly pennies a day, but the rewards can be immense if you can avoid going to jail, right? And with that kind of attack, if somebody replies to that email, if they spoofed your address, it's going to go back to the original employee who's not going to know what's going on. The hacker's not going to get it. That's where they want to put in a link for the end user to click on, that's going to take them to a compromised website, or the website that they've built intended to compromise you, where they can put a backdoor dropper right onto your machine and start siphoning information right off the environment. Many of these can easily be seen as fraudulent. If you simply look at the email header, that's going to be your first clue that things aren't matching up. But truly, how many of your end users would have the capability of doing that? Probably not many.
Yeah. Pete?
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, as we've said, right, we're in the security business. Malwarebytes is in the security business, right? I got an email from our guy in ops saying, is this crazy? Somebody had figured out how to get a hold of our accounts payable person and, emailed me from them, and, it looked, or, emailed from me to them saying, hey, we need to, send this money. So it's even happening with small businesses, and happens even at tech companies. So when you have an end user who is not, kind of security aware, this can be an issue.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a great point, Todd. So that happened to us, and it's so easy to find one of our finance guys. If you just call in and pose as a customer who wants to pay your bill, you're getting transferred right over there. Right? Nobody's going to be asking you, hey, do you really owe us this money? Are you a real company? Absolutely not.
Most companies give that info all the time because they want to get paid.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of the reason why you got into business, right? And so it makes it even easier for these guys, right? So how do you prevent this? It's not 100% preventable. And what we're not doing is we're not stopping the bad actors from trying, right? So all we can do is really control what gets in. So really getting granular with configuring your anti-spam, and this is the kind of thing you might need help from your partner to do to really make sure you're getting to the next level. Make sure you're blocking any email traffic that's coming from a dynamic IP. As you know, right, anybody who's running a legitimate operation with a legitimate server, or they're taking advantage of an Office 365 or a Google Apps for Business or this kind of stuff, that is not coming from a dynamic IP address, right? You can do a lot with setting up to be looking for trusted domains. Now, again, some of the issues that folks run into there is you've got a lot of customers who haven't configured their email servers correctly, and you might start deconfiguring some of this stuff to make sure that their emails are getting through. That takes you back to the detailed configuration of the anti-spam. Let's make sure we're whitelisting anybody who's bouncing regularly rather than changing our configuration down, right? And possibly both the easiest and the hardest, making your employees smarter about what this kind of fraud looks like, why it's happening, what the root causes are, and even helping them understand that if you click on this thing, even though it doesn't look like anything is happening, something very, very bad may be happening. Part of the challenge with malware today is you're not getting a pop-up saying you're owned. You're not getting a pop-up saying you've gotten the stoned virus or whatever it is. They're just very quietly exfiltrating your data off of the network and taking advantage of you that way, right? So we're not going to be able to completely stop it, right? But if we have a solid UTM strategy, we can absolutely minimize the effects and the impact. So right now, a lot of UTMs contain anti-spam as a piece of that. Something still gets through there, though. We want the UTM to be able to look for malicious traffic that was caused from clicking on that link in that email. We want our endpoint product to prevent data from being exfiltrated off of that, stop any backdoor droppers, right? This kind of stuff. We want to make sure we're fully patched so that we don't have any zero-day exploits or CVEs that can be leveraged and taken advantage of that maybe bypasses our endpoint product. And we want to be looking at all that traffic using some kind of security monitoring tools like SIM and Nessus or Qualys or one of these kinds of things, so that we can really be in the know and be able to react. You're not going to stop everything, right? So let's get visibility into what's happening and be able to respond quickly with a solid incident response plan. So we wanted to drop some free links. We use this stuff all the time in our environment, and when we're helping clients, a lot of great resources. I bet some of these all of you folks probably know about. I like taking advantage of DNS stuff and MX Toolbox. Not quite as much now that we've moved to Office 365, but when we were hosting our own Exchange server, I really used MX Toolbox all the time. DMARC.org actually has a nice little wizard to help you create your DMARC record. DKIM's got a lot of good information out there as well. So this can be a great first start if you're really concerned about email security, getting familiar with some of these websites. We would love to engage and help you out as well, and do everything we can to help you add the kind of security that you're missing. More important, help you get it configured correctly so that it's really going to do something for you and help you raise one more barrier against the bad guys.
Woo! Yeah, that's great stuff, Pete. Yeah, I mean, we just Pete and I were just at a deal last week talking to some high-end security minds, and we all talked about that. Security is just good old-fashioned hard work, right? We got to keep being diligent. We got to make sure we're educating our user community, and there's a big balance, right? We can't lock everything down so nobody can work. I mean, in fact, if we unplugged from the net, we would be secure, right? But we also probably would not be able to do business with anybody. So, that's the world we live in, right? We need to interact with people and organizations, and because of that, the bad guys are trying to insert themselves into that mix and take advantage of the good, honest, hardworking folks. So that's cool, right? Pete mentioned, we have a few solutions that we think can help you along that continuum. Obviously, Pete and our technical guys, if it makes sense, would be happy to spend some time with you talking about what is your security posture, what are you thinking about, and where do you want to go, from today? What do you need to move? What data needs some more attention, and what's really solid, right? We talk to organizations all the time that have a pretty good security posture. They're very proactive, and they have us come in just to validate, to make sure things are really working. We got another tip coming in. Say you can set up a new website that has profiles of admin staff along with titles and email addresses. You'll start seeing spoofed emails immediately. And then you can remove those emails from the website. So that's, if you have, so if you're putting out some particular email addresses on the website, just imagine the kind of stuff that's going to come to those. So be very, understand, you do need to put some kind of emails out there, just like we have help at Productive Corp is on our website, and we do get some, we get some stuff that's not the greatest stuff on there, but I think just be aware of that's what's out there, and that's what's happening. So, Pete, do you have any other thoughts you want to throw in there, or are we ready to wrap up this afternoon?
Yeah, no, one last thing, that I would throw out is if you're really in a situation where you feel like, boy, we're not sure what else to do. We know we're vulnerable because everybody's got vulnerabilities out there, but where do we go? That's where you start talking to your productive rep about a pen test or a vulnerability assessment, so we can start kind of honing in a little bit on the areas that you need to focus on, and then we can work together to create a 24-month or a 36-month plan for you to start making the necessary configurations and updates and changes that you need to get more secure, but then stay more secure. A lot of folks make the mistake of, we just did all this stuff today, and then we think we put it in, set it and forget it. And the problem with that is 6 months from now, all the good work that you did today doesn't mean anything if you don't stay up to date with it. Right, so would love to work with everybody on a one-on-one basis to figure out what really makes the most sense for your specific individualized environment.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan. So, Pete, thanks very much for your presentation today, and everybody that attended, thanks a lot. We appreciate you coming to hear what we had to say. We hope that this was valuable. If you enjoyed what you heard, let us know, and if you think that there are other topics you want to hear about, let us know, or let us know if you thought we missed the mark. Happy to hear that as well. So I am Todd Obert, along with Pete Greco from Productive Corporation, wishing you a fantastic balance of your day and week, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.